Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining the Canada and Nepal and Aerospace webinar. We're so happy to have you here. Today, we hope to improve connections between Nepal and Canada, allow for that global collaboration, and learn from these amazing leaders in the aerospace industry. My name is Vanessa Van Decker. I'm the president of SEDS-Canada, a mechanical engineering student and an intern at Mission Control, where I work on mission operations for space robotics missions. I am also a Zenith Fellow, and we organized this event through the Zenith Community Impact Project, which is a project that fellows undertake to help reach out to their communities and provide value. I'm going to throw it over to my colleague and another Zenith Fellow, Jagriti.
All right, thank you, Vanessa. Hello, everybody. My name is Jagriti, and I'm also a Zenith Fellow, like Vanessa mentioned, and we're doing this as part of our Community Impact Project. And this is very personal to me as well, because I was born in Nepal, lived there for 15 years, and now I live in Canada. So it's been great connecting the two countries. And we're hoping that with this event, we will have intercultural idea exchange when it comes to aerospace. I'm a member of SEDS-Canada. I'm a Zenith Fellow and also recently an advisor to SEDS-Nepal. So we're conducting this with all these three organizations. And next, I want to pass it on to Kathy for her to introduce SEDS-Nepal. But before that, I just want to let everybody know that Zenith is taking applications right now. So if you're interested, Vanessa will put a link in the chat. So be sure to apply.
Thank you so much, Jagriti. My name is Kathy, and I'm currently the Director of Chapter Affairs here at SEDS, largest student-run organizations working solely to develop the space infrastructure of Nepal. We have some current ongoing projects like the Arohan high-altitude balloon and also the Asian Herbs in Space project. We have our own chapters as well that are working on their own projects, and we also provide our members with amazing research and internship opportunities. So if you want to join and be a part of SEDS-Nepal, there's individual membership open, as well as we also invite applications to open up your own chapter in your own STEM or non-STEM high school and universities. So I'll put down a link for our website and email, so you can always reach us out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kathy. And before we go into the questions for our amazing speakers, who feel free to put up your videos now, we'll start the panel. I'm just going to share the results from our participants who are here. And incredibly, we have about a 50-50 split between Canada and Nepal, which is awesome to see so many people from both countries joining. So first of all, we'd like to have our panelists introduce themselves in a few sentences, tell us a little bit more about what you do and what your specialty is. So we can start off with Dr. Shauna Pandya.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Perfect. So my name is Dr. Shauna Pandya. I am a Canadian physician. My main practice is in rural emergency medicine and primary care in the city. I'm also an explorer, aquanaut, scientist, astronaut candidate with the International Institute for Astronomical Sciences. I direct the IIAS Space Medicine Group, and I'm the chief instructor for the Operational Space Medicine course. And hopefully we'll talk about that a little bit more. I do apologize. Speaking of being a physician, I'll have to leave right away to go to the hospital, but hopefully we can get some discussion in.
Thank you so much. And on to Suresh.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Suresh. I'm a current chair of Nepal Astronomical Society, and I am advocating for astronomy and space science for the last 15 years in the country. Have good experience on how to get involved with the community and how to empower people, especially motivating them and creating workforce. Yeah, rest, I think as more we interact, we'll get to know more. Thank you.
And Manisha?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Manisha. I work with Suresh Patrai at Nepal Astronomical Society. Currently, I'm the project coordinator. And like I love working with those who are interested in STEM field. And I'm more into education, even though like I have completed my master's in physics. Currently, I'm doing MPhil in STEM education. And I work with teachers, particularly from community schools. So currently, I'm the Nepal consultant for Tata Institute of Social Science, Mumbai. Nice to be with you all and hope to interact more during the session today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Sunira.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me in the panel. First of all, I'm Sunira Regmi. I'm working as a senior flight operation engineer as well as a deputy director and Nepal Airlines Corporation. I specialize in aerodynamics, and my sub-specialization is I specialize in aerospace, and my sub-specialization is in aerodynamic. So I have been working with Nepal Airlines last 13 years. So I'm much familiar with the aviation field around Nepal, and more, my duty involved in calculating the performance of the aircraft, doing the test flight, doing the calculating the engine out procedure, deploying the electronic flight flag in the aircraft, ensuring the flight documents are intact and up to date, and to conduct the audit and international as well as a national audit, safety audit. So thank you very much.
It's our pleasure to have you here. So to start off the panel, since Dr. Pandya has to get going, we'll start with your question. As a physician and an IIAS scientist astronaut candidate program graduate, the director of IIAS's Space Medicine Group, a medical researcher and a space industry leader, you're very knowledgeable both in extreme and rural medicine as well as space medicine. How can we use the knowledge garnered in extreme environments on Earth to prepare for space exploration? And how can we take what we learned in space and apply it in medicine and natural disaster relief here on Earth?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much, Vanessa. In the exploration world, especially on my Aquanaut mission, there's this phrase that we picked up and it's called same, but different. And that came from one of my crewmates' shirts because he had a picture of an Aquanaut with an umbilical and then a picture, and it faded into a picture of an astronaut into an umbilical. And so it was kind of making light of the fact that, the underwater world and the space world are pretty similar. And I would say the same applies to remote and rural healthcare, as well as space medicine. And so when we talk about what are the similarities between a remote village in Nepal, for example, our Arctic populations in Canada, or even rural Alberta, where in fact I'm coming to you from today, and what does that have in common with space is that they're all examples of remote, resource limited environments. And then depending on which environment you're in, you may even add in isolation and confinement. And so what's really cool right now is that the Canadian Space Agency has recognized this and has made it a priority to look at space health innovations, technology innovations that can benefit both astronauts on long duration space missions, as well as our most remote and rural and in need communities. And so to give you practical examples of how that comes into play, one of the other hats I have yet to mention that I wear is as VP of Immersive Medicine with Luxonic Technologies. So we're a Canadian company and we specialize in immersive technology. So augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, 360 video. And this all started when we won a grant from the CSA to build VR medical education modules for astronauts on long duration missions. So imagine you're the crew medical officer. The first time you learn to put an IV in is on Earth, and then you're not called to use that skill until you reach Mars 9 months later. You're going to be out of practice. You're going to be poking your poor patient multiple times. But what if you could practice that skill set and that motor movement that you developed in VR to maintain that coordination and that muscle memory? And so as it became apparent to all of us during the COVID-19 pandemic, when so many of us lost access to our traditional physical and learning spaces and physical learning and working spaces, it became apparent that, hey, maybe there's a need to bring virtual reality to other populations. And so we started off with looking at healthcare populations in urban settings, because you could argue that they're now resource limited as well, despite being in an urban setting. So we've developed virtual reality medical education modules for paramedics, nurses, lab techs, and more. And now we're working to bring that to those most in need. So we're working on collaborations with Costa Rica, with towns, institutions all across the world. So when I say same but different, there's this feed in, feed out tie-in. So we can learn a lot from medicine and what we practice rurally and remotely here on Earth. And there's a lot of benefit from space that we can use here on Earth. And for example, all of the problem solving, critical thinking, and small teams I work in rurally absolutely applies to space medicine. So hopefully that is enough to get us all thinking about space medicine on Earth and space medicine and medicine on Earth. And yeah, I look forward to hearing the comments.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. As someone who grew up in a town of 200 people, that is really interesting to me, because healthcare is a major issue for rural areas. And I don't know how urgently you need to leave, Dr. Pandya. Do you want to open up to anyone to ask you questions, or do you have to get going right now?
Yeah, depending on what the value judgment is, why don't we take 2 questions from the audience and then I can jet off. That being said, I know there might be some other time constraints on the panel. So if other folks need to leave, I can certainly yield my time.
Maybe we'll open up to 1 question from the audience. If anyone wants to ask Dr. Shauna Pandya anything before she has to go.
Especially like parallels between like Nepal's remote places, and this is very interesting in astronautics. So I think that would be an interesting thing.
Yeah, and Jagriti, thanks for mentioning that, because one thing Canada and Nepal have been very solid in is medical collaboration. And in fact, there's ties from University of Alberta, where I'm from, in establishing the first medical school innovations in Nepal. And so, I know we're going to talk about collaboration later this session, but maybe we can extend that to space and also space medicine.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Pandya. That was wonderful to hear about that's already being collaborated on, and about future opportunities there. Good luck with your patient.
Thank you so much.
All right, I think I'm asking the next question. And it's to Mr. Suresh. And so we understand that you've been working in Nepali aerospace industry for a long time and contributing for all these years. So a question we wanted to ask you is, according to you, what obstacles do you see us facing while we try to take Nepal to space? And what benefits do you see when it comes to projects like CubeSat projects as a solution for developing countries to take our country to space? And also, if you could mention some things on if inter or multidisciplinary approaches like entrepreneurship and policy and lawmaking could play a factor into this, that'd be great. So we would like to hear your insights on this a bit more.
Thank you, Jagriti. So I found that 3 questions in one packet. Thank you for the question. Yeah, the biggest challenges, obstacles that I see while working in those years is that we lack proper policy in the country, which gives us an opportunity to put all the activities, all the efforts together so that it gives good impact. We can optimize the impact and create foundation. So that is definitely lacking because it's not only for space or aerospace. Aerospace, particularly if we look at the university education, or when we talk about aerospace, whether it's education, it's application, industry, or communities, it's different. I mean, but for aerospace, education just started before. We have been like using aviation for long, and We have using space applications for more than 3 decades, even more. It's not that we are not using those facilities, not enjoying the benefits of space, but our country does not have a proper infrastructure, a proper guideline to coordinate them. So that's why we have been advocating for space agency, so which is pretty needed. But recently, I think last year, I just forgot, it's very recent that the government formulated the satellite policy. And I commented in that policy that we need a house and people want to buy apartment. So it's renting an apartment doesn't help. We need to have our own infrastructure. So the biggest obstacles is the policy, proper policy. There are lots of problems. So not only for aerospace or space, even in general science. So the regulation has to be amended or changed so that we have more productive environment to work in the field of science and technology innovations, including aerospace. And the benefits of CubeSats, of course, for the countries like Nepal, CubeSats still it's expensive. So the one CubeSat that Nepal have invested, which is Nepali Sat-1, which was done by Nepal and Japan through BIRDS project. And it was like expensive in terms of the amount we spend on it, and the number of people involved. And but I think it helps people involved to learn something and contribute back. And there's another project coming in. They're working on 3U. So I had a meeting and exchange with the people of Nepali Sat-1 that now you should go to 3U satellite, because 1U is to learn some skills. So once you learn how to work, then you can work to see how it works, for the application part, because 1U is not sufficient. 3U is more than enough to do many science these days. But technological demonstration and all, 1U is okay. But 3U for science, 3U is mandatory. So that is possible, but still, as I got to know, because I work with all the people and I interact with them. So it was not an easy task just to send that up. And even we could not get a call sign from here. It was from Japan. So, okay, it was BIRDS project. So it was registered by Japan. That's a different story. But same thing happened with Orion Space, another small pocket chip satellite. There's another group working, and they struggle a lot to get a call sign, which was not possible for them, and they need to get that from Spain. So this is all happened because there is no proper guideline or policy how to monitor or how to support such activities in the country. Even in 2016, we formed a project called Project UP, a high altitude balloon. So we started, and once we calculated all the things, we found that the balloon will go in China or somewhere. So it was like international issue. We cannot send something up in the space and then to another country. It may create some problems. So we drop out that project. So then we thought, okay, we do some projects. Maybe we fly from India, asking from friend, because if we fly from somewhere from India, it will drop somewhere in India, because Nepal is so small, elongated. So it's pretty difficult to do a high altitude balloon. So that's what our finding before. So CubeSats, in terms of investment, if government can support, not only monetary, its support doesn't mean money. It should also have a proper environment, and that's if get that environment, it's good. And I think those CubeSat projects has really sparked the zeal, the motivation among people to work in the field and to pursue their career in space sector, which is pretty remarkable. So we also claim that, okay, with the Nepali Sat-1, the space era of Nepal has begun. That's true, but that was not the end. That was just the beginning, you know. And another question, what are the solutions? Solution do I see, right? Multidisciplinary. So first thing is we need to have an awareness among people, because to have people working in some agenda, they should be aware at some extent. You know, like to have an entrepreneurship, people should have some community critical mass. They should have some know-how, some skill sets, so that they can build upon that skill set and move ahead. So I think programs like CubeSats, even CanSats, which we were advocating for a long time. Even we signed an MOU with Robotics Association of Nepal to launch a national CanSat competition, which didn't happen actually as planned. Because why we did that? Because RAN has already built some communities who are aware of Arduinos, electronics, you know, all the gadgets fixing. So maybe we can change those human resources to another idea. So with that mandate, we work with them in Yantra space. And then we thought maybe we can work further, but it didn't work that way. Yeah, it is possible. So the solution is to have small projects. So what I see is strongly is, if we really, we still need to go long in space. You know, we have people expert like, Sumiraji here and other people. We have to identify people like her. We have to identify, recognize them, and help our youngsters to know them, you know, because knowing each other is primary. You know, awareness is at first at this moment, because there should be motivation to work further. There should be hope. So to create hope, we need to have something, you know, we cannot just fly without any, and we need to have some directions ahead. So we need to give some direction to the youth. And strongly, I feel that, you know, the solution is, I have read that high-altitude balloon and all the satellite projects, even we planned for CubeSat projects with IOE in 2016-17. And the plan was to have a project where students from bachelor's, master's, and PhDs will work, and there will be the academic product. At the same time, they can document their knowledge, and we can launch that, you know, as a student project, which also didn't work. So we thought that, and we also did one balloon project from Mexico, Ecliptros, you know, where 7 students from IOE work on the payload, and they basically work on communication system, which we very, you know, we send that into Mexico by all means, if we remember how we did that. And but what we realized, that probably maybe the critical mass is not yet developed in the country. So the CanSat probably the best option to start, so that it can go to the school. A water rocket is already there, which is not widely done in the country, which is pretty good for the school, junior high school. But for high school, senior high school, I strongly believe that CanSat projects, CanSat competitions will really trigger and help students to learn, help enthusiasts to learn, and to be together, so that they can be something in future they want to be, like space scientists, work in a space system. You know, it goes gradually, you know, it's not overnight job. You need to study, you need to learn basics, you need to build your foundation. It's not like you just watching YouTube and you build and you done. You need to understand how it works, and then only it will be sustainable. Otherwise, you know, it's like the moment you build something and next morning you ask, I don't know how I build it, and then there's no meaning of doing that.
That actually transitions perfectly into our next question. So for Manisha, have a question for you. How do you think we can best connect with the next generation and prepare them with the necessary skills to excel in the space industry globally?
Thank you for the question, Vanessa. Suresh has, I think, like related to a lot of things that might go with this question. As he took the name of Suniraji, even I wanted to share the same thing. I wanted to take the same name for this particular question, because there are so many people who are working in different fields. Let's say for now, like we are talking about this aerospace industry and space related topic, right? So I have been working in astronomy and space sector since long, and like it has not been that long that I got to know about Suniraji. And I was quite excited when I saw the poster that she will also be here among us, among the like panelists. What I believe, particularly these days, is like we need to have a story of the people who are quite inspiring and motivating should come out to the younger generation, because since like we are working with high school student in general, I look particularly to this group. What are we recently, like what we have found is like like things are being done just for the sake of tokenism, you know. So like as Suresh said, like students, they do something just looking at the YouTube videos, and they say like they try to claim like they know everything, and there is a group of people who are actually pushing this thing like yeah, you are doing this. But at most of the time, like what I have found is the lack of understanding of the things that the particular person, the particular student is trying to do, you know. So if you say robotics, like they just come up with the same thing. You just bring a battery and you bring a motor and you just join it, and like poof, you know, like I made a robot. But what I think is like it is basic. It should be, you know, like it is needed, but like you cannot stuck into the same phase every time. So the next thing is like there is some sort of glam for a while, you know. It might last for a month or maybe a year or a couple of years, and then like everything stops at some point, because most of the time what we have found is like you are just copying the idea. So once you finish the idea from someone else, then like you do not get the sense of what you want to do beyond that. So like the term sustainability is not there, because like you are not genuine with what you are doing. So what I would like to suggest is like growth takes place, you know. So you should respect hard work. So hard work is the must. And the next thing is the motivation. So we need to bring out the more stories, more narration of the people who could inspire the younger generation to stop getting frustrated at some point. Because I want particularly the younger generation to understand like you cannot get frustrated at some point and stop doing what you want to do, you know. So you have to be very clear with your ideas, and so people like Suniraji, or maybe it's like someone else is there looking at their story, like they can feel that like how it is to be in the same shoes that their idols had been into. So that I think will help the younger generation to not to get diverted from the focus, like they want to, the goal they want to reach. So here I would like to suggest what I would like to suggest is rather than changing your goal, you should experiment with a lot of path, and you can change your path but not the goal. It should be there. And the next thing is like the youngsters should know their potentiality, and they should understand that like growth means different in among different individuals. So if I can learn something from like in a very short time. Someone else might need a longer time, and they might come up with new knowledge and new ideas, which could help them like have the knowledge of the thing that they want to acquire. And next thing is this social media thing. I think like that doesn't last long. So what I would like to share is do not feel shy of if you do not know something, you know, if you do not know any of the skills that your friends or someone else is knowing, because you can always start from always start, you know, and it doesn't matter like at what point you are, because if you start working on your weakness gradually, you will learn more, and like this will help you understand like what skills best fits you. And finally, if I have to talk particularly about some skill, I would say like communication is the must. When I was young, particularly like in my teenage, what me and my sister, we were suggested is like you cannot talk when elders are talking, or like you know, you cannot speak, you have to keep your mouth shut and you have to listen, you know. But what I think is that actually helped me lose my confidence even today. So there are some basic rules that you should follow, basic values that you should respect, but you
I
should
think
start
I'm just
communicating.
gonna stop you there, but all of
Mhm.
the things you've said, I think, has been great. Like your emphasis on being passionate, being hardworking, the importance of resilience, and the role that social media also plays in all of this, and also like questioning status quo and not accepting whatever's given to us, because innovation requires challenging what's already out there. So I love your point about that. And also Suresh, when you mentioned CubeSat projects, I've been involved with it for 2 years, and I know how difficult it is. And if you can't see role models around you doing things that you want to do, it's very hard to see yourself in that position. And also, when you mentioned the high altitude balloon project, I started my own project in my first year and successfully did it. And I never considered the differences in geography between Canada and Nepal, because I never considered how elongated Nepal is and how the balloon can land anywhere. And that was a privilege I had and I didn't recognize. But moving on, I just wanna, it's an absolute pleasure to ask a question to Suneria next. And what I wanted to ask you is that how was it trailblazing the path and becoming Nepal's first female aerospace engineer? And how do you think the industry has evolved and changed over time during your career?
Thank you, Zagriti. Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. Actually, it started. I want to say that I mark my path into this field when I was 16, approximately around the senior high school, or I'll say 16-year-old, where I found my passion about the physics, flying, and the flight related everything. So I didn't know at that time. I was gradually turning that specialization or that education thing into a career. So that was the first start of my thing. So but it was not a simple a road ahead. There was economic constraint, there were like limited occupation constraint, as well as the society stigma that you can't society stigma that you can't you can go into this field, because as soon as you enter into that career, you don't have any job opportunity or something like that. So it was kind of not a simple road. It was a full of obstacle, I can say. That was the obstacle that I faced during my during the process, during the pathway of my career. And even after graduating, I volunteer in Nepal. I came back to Nepal. I volunteered here for 1 year, that too without a pay, single pay. I was just exploring, like it was around 2008, and I was just exploring the market where I can fit in, you know. Either I can go into the maintenance field, either can go into the safety field, or either I can. I didn't know about at the time that there is something special name like flight operation engineer or flight performance engineer is also there. So it was kind of, you know, frustrating to say at that time, because 1 year you are without job, and then your societal pressure, everything was going on. However, after I think 18 year of 18 year of vacancy that was created, so you know, after 18 year there was a vacancy created at Nepal Airlines Corporation, which I was fortunate to get in. So I did a civil clearance exam. I entered into that, and I got a job. That was like you know, that was a struggle part, that 2008 till 2009. So it was almost 2 year long gap. So so I think it was fortunate that I got into that career. But some people, especially women, I can say that still struggle in today's world, and regarding to that, choosing the career path for themselves, you know. Because at my time there was no one, there was no one in my home also who can, you know, who knows about what I was studying as aeronautical engineering, or what is aeronautical engineering, neither the society. Someone was coming into my home, some relatives, far relatives, and then they were saying like, okay, if you study aeronautical engineering, you can't get a job. And some people, he studied aeronautical engineering from Russia, and then he committed suicide. That was you know, that was the situation that was created for me. So for me, it was believing you know, in my knowledge and ability, rather than being scummed into the uncertainty. So I was about to become it was never for me for becoming the first female aerospace engineering in Nepal. But I was, because I was learning that 2 year, I was learning a lot to become a better engineer than I was before. Okay, academic knowledge was there, some lab knowledge was there, but into the industry, I got a chance to do as a volunteer. So that was, that was my just I was in thought of becoming a good engineer. If not, then let's try something in Nepal. Let's try. I was discussing with my father, my mother, my brother, everyone in a family member, and then they were also full support at the time. And then I didn't even know that a bit of being first female aeronautical engineer exist until the year after I graduate, because well, applying for the job, I need to get a certificate from Nepal Engineering Council that we are as a certified engineer. So at that time when I applied there, I got to know that I was the first female aerospace engineer who applied for the certificate. So I think that was really a learning opportunity and a new experience for me, again along the way, that made my career what it is today. So and next thing is, now speaking about the industry, when I enter into this industry, Nepal being a third nation, a world nation like Nepal, where the opportunity is very limited. Still there is not even I have been here for like 13 years. I think only 2% of aerospace industry has been boomed, like Suresh said, like other members said, like they have developed some Sano satellite system, or say some sat first system. So those are the things that are coming right now. But at the time when I joined to the industry, nothing was there. Either I have to go for a maintenance engineer, or after 20 years, the vacancy was there for a flight performance engineer. That's it. Nothing was there for aerospace engineer or aeronautical engineer or astronautical engineer, nothing. So there was no research and development center. Like today there are some, and there was no collaboration between the university or say something like that. So speaking of the industry, the industries in Nepal, it has limited to aviation, some civil, say some people from civil aviation authority, so or some policy making thing. So there are very limited, like 3 to 4, 5 seats available per year, I think so. So there. Now I can see that. So for example, I have no Garuda. There is one National Innovation Center, R&D, research and development. They are doing something in Garuda also, and Suresh sir and ma'am are doing really good thing for aerospace industries. And there is one Orient Space. They are doing a great thing over there. So these are some involving, but they are not supported by the government, or neither by other. They haven't been funded. So there is some, neither they have been funded, neither they have been made a good policy, government level policy. So these are the things I find very, very, we are lacking behind. So yeah, these are the things as per my experience.
That's wonderful. It's very inspiring to hear your story.
Thank you.
Yeah, and like all the policy making things seem very important, especially in a developing country like Nepal. But for our last question, we would like the answers to be a bit shorter because of our time constraint, but this is open to all the panelists, and this is a general question to everybody. So why is global collaboration like this between Canada, Nepal, other countries so important in the aerospace industry? And what opportunities do you see for Canada and Nepal to collaborate further in the future? I can start with Ms. Manisha.
Well, collaboration is important because until and unless like you work with someone else, it is something like you are in the closed box, So in order to come out of the box, collaboration is the must, and like it helps us understand each other's position, where we are. So either like I need to work hard to get to the level, to match the level, or it also help like fill the gap that one can have. That's why I think collaboration is a must. And it's so like I might have ideas, and the other party might have financially, like they may be strong. So these things need to come together to give a best result. That's what I think. And regarding the opportunities, I think like a platform like this, the collaborations like this could help a Nepali student to get opportunity. If I'm talking from Nepal side, to learn a lot from the experts and understand their position and strive for the best. Thank you.
Wonderful. Ms. Sunera can go next.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, the third world nation like Nepal and other, the main resource is like, we don't have a proper infrastructures, or we don't have a proper R&D, research and development center, no funding. So I think this collaboration has will inspire the student to go into the developed nation to learn more from there. So I think it's a very necessary part of the, or I could say the root cause for the development of aerospace industry, or say the education system in Nepal. So I would say that main is like you have to, the student from here, they would collaborate with, they will go to Canada, the R&D center, they'll learn a lot from there, I know that, which we are lacking over here. Or the people who can come here and find the root cause of the problem, what we are lacking behind, and then they can do the research. So both way, it's a it's a benefit kind of thing. I feel like that. So it's very important for the third nation like Nepal and the developed country like Canada to collaborate with each other, especially particularly for the education system.
It's totally, we totally agree with that. It's absolutely a win-win situation for both countries. Mr. Suresh can go next, and then we will head on to questions from the audience.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. We were wondering, why is global collaboration so important in the aerospace industry, like we're doing in this panel discussion, and what opportunities do you see for Canada and Nepal to collaborate in the future further?
Okay, so I mean, today's time, without collaboration, I think nothing is possible. And especially when we talk about space, it is not possible, because space is the way that teach us, the unity, diversity, So I think global collaboration is the only way we can do that, because space is expensive. As I said, for CubeSat, I was just checking email, and we had that project implementation plan in 2015, in the HAB and CubeSat. And I checked that it was designed for university student project, not high school, which later on we changed in 2018, 19. We thought, oh, our graduates are so smart, maybe we go a little bit lower for CanSat to high school, which we thought we can do that, in university. So global collaboration is a need. It's not, I mean, it's compulsory if we really want to do something in space. Like we can see the example that how we can we were able to implement Nepali Sat-1 or PQ-1, or we'll be able to do other projects, which is not possible alone. And about Canada and Nepal, it's about how we utilize our resources together to optimize our goal of achieving, something in the field of space together. For example, Canada have a space agency. Nepal doesn't have space agency. People can learn from how to set up space agency from Canada, because it's not that, it's also in a growing agency. Canada Space Agency is also growing agency, not matured one. So Nepal hasn't started anything. So we have a lot of opportunities to learn from Canada. At the same time, since they have already a space program, a space agency, so probably Nepal and Canada have some agreement, some partnership to have some research on high altitude, which is close to space, and which actually have been done in past. In 2009, some NASA astronauts have been here in Mount Everest. They did some pulmonary test here in Mount Everest, and even the rocks to the ISS to test something. Things has been done, but there can be some laboratory setup here where people from Canada can come, and they can work here. People from here can go and learn, because they are doing that. So there are many similarities that we can do, contributing from each side, not feeling that one is superior, rich country, one is poor country, in not that sense, but maximizing the strength of two countries. If we start demarking developed and developing countries, then I think we cannot move ahead. So that's the first point. We kill our motivation at the first stage, because the moment we start telling that, okay, we are from developing countries, then half of the hope gone. Okay, then that means we cannot do anything. So we need to explore our strength, and you know, so we need to what's say what's it from Canada's side, it's like a compatible, you know, complementing each other,
Yeah,
complementing
we both
each
have a
other.
lot to give to each other.
Yeah,
You know,
I
bringing
feel,
that to the table.
and Nepal and Canada have a long, I think, bilateral history. It's long, not recent. So and that gives a good opportunity to do that. And as Joanna said, you know, there's a lot of potential to do some medical research and space medicine and uh, this stuff together. There's a huge potential in that area.
Amazing. So I think we're going to go on to audience questions now. I think Kathy asked us to take it on, but if SEDS-Nepal wants to join in, just unmute, let us know, and you're welcome to. And first we have a question from Ira Sharma. So if you want to unmute and ask it yourself, that is great, but I can also read it out for you.
Hello, am I
Hello?
audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, sure. So I had some questions in the chat box, but before that, could I move on some other question I had for Suresh so just now?
Sure, just pick one first and then we can come back around to you.
Yeah, okay. So a question for Suresh. So like you mentioned of the development of the space agency in Nepal, I believe that youths with able capabilities in Nepal are like not much provided with such opportunities, and development of such agencies would be great to have able youths come up in this field. But as you said, collaborating with other countries, is it so easy to do it in this competitive world, where there is so much of advancement in the rest of the world? And how well do you think that Nepal, if there is a space agency made in Nepal, developed in Nepal, how well can it catch up with the rest of the world? What is your views on this?
Thank you, Ira. That's a very good question. So, you know, the very first thing that we need to understand is space is not for competition, it's for collaboration. Okay, so the moment you start thinking that way and start working that direction, problems will solve, you know. As I said earlier, if we start thinking that, yeah, the advancement, there are like, you know, different approaches, you know, not everyone is good in everything. So we need to identify our strength. So I have announced 3-4 years back in Damak that we want to see people working for Mars mission. Okay, probably we cannot be the 6 people in a capsule to go to the Mars, but at least maybe some of us, many people can work on that mission, because it's not single man's job. It needs thousands of people to work on this mission, right? So we need to think with different perspective, you know, so we need to think beyond competition. So if we think that way, we will definitely achieve our goal. Thank you.
Amazing. Do you want to jump in with the next person, Jagriti?
Yeah, sure. I think somebody DM'd me their question. Yeah, so if you could post your questions to everybody and not just like direct it to me, that'd be great. But I think somebody was asking, talking about policy, maybe this can be directed to Ms. Sanera, but talking about policy, what can the youths like myself or higher authority like the speakers present in the panel can contribute such that we may take a step towards building an aerospace exploration industry in Nepal that seem like an impossible and unachievable, and how do we
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Okay. Yeah, so it's talking about policy. What can youths like? I'll try to summarize it. So, talking about policy, what can youths like people present in this panel can do to contribute towards an aerospace exploration industry in Nepal for the future, and what can government do to motivate the youth?
As I mentioned before also, thank you for the question. As I mentioned before also, aerospace industry, what people think is like just out of space, just a sky, you know. I'm like telling in all my speech or say lecture, anything, that aerospace field is a vast field. It include the medicine, design, for example, designing the race car, race motorbike, or something like that. Okay, so it's a study of reducing the drag, you know. So reducing the fuel efficiency, and it is also the study of AI coding optimization. It's also the study of the payload and environment also. It consists of environment too. It consists of hydrophysics too. It consists of automobile too, even the mechanical too, even the I told you about the AI or robotic system, and even the metrology. So it doesn't you are an aerospace engineer, it doesn't mean that you have to be in space. Okay, it's like, okay, study of space, but you can study the different part. You know, there are a lot of field in aerospace, so which I want to acknowledge to the new generation, that you can go into computer science and then you can relate that to the aerospace industry or say astronautical industry. Yeah, it's not limited to only one particular field, or say you are studying about the star, or it consists of a various industries. You just have to explore it. And yes, regarding Nepal, we don't have that knowledge. As I mentioned before also, we have that, you know, this the root cause for lacking behind of aerospace industry, or say aeronautical industry, or say astronautical industry, is that we don't have a knowledge that we can study this particular thing. And regarding that also, regarding the policy making, we don't have a good policy. We have no proper funding. We have no student exchange program. And the industry, I think IOE has just started it. It's a Institute of Engineering. It's one of the best institute in Nepal. So it had just started, I think 2.5 years ago, they have started a course known as aeronautical course. But the infrastructure, I went there, I visited there, but the infrastructure to research and development is, I think it's not even, I think 10% of what we require, you know. And no so I think those are the systems that are lacking behind. And as a policymaker, we have say the entrepreneur, or say the industries, aerospace industries, or the I'll say the aviation industries, or the civil aviation body, they have to collaborate with each other regarding the pinpoint. Like say, for example, as Suresh mentioned, there was when they launched the satellite, there was some difficulty because we don't have a policy, right? So I was also working in CORSIA, carbon emission offsetting program for international airlines. So I was working on that project as a chief. At that time, I too faced the problem because there was no any policies made by the authority body or higher level government. So these are the problem that we are facing right now in all. I can say that it's a aerospace industry is not only limited to this space. It's a vast. You can explore it. You have to you know, you have to do for the new coming generation, you can go into the medicine, aeromedicine, designing, AI, coding, optimization, fluid mechanics, payload, environment, hydrophysics, automobile, metrology, and so on. I can I can like make a list for you guys, like from where you can go on. But yeah, I think these are some special I would like to advise you to go explore through and go through. And yeah, IOE has also opened the program for aeronautical or aerospace engineering, so you can go there, you can explore the syllabus over there if you are interested over there. So best is like go through the education system, I'll say. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Was I audible because my connection
Yes.
was a little poor? I think so.
That's okay. We could hear you. There was one point where it lagged, but we didn't really miss anything. So it was all good.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I think we'll take one more question. We have a question from Pragyan. And if you want to ask it
Pragyan.
yourself, feel free to unmute or I can read it out.
Well, hello everyone.
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay. My question is like, will organizing STEAM camps like related to rocket science or astronomy also, will this give awareness for the people in Nepal who are thinking to pursue their career in this field, or that unsafe nature which we think we will go if we choose this career can be minimized through camps or not? My question is like that.
This is a great question and maybe is really well suited for Manisha. Do you want to answer this?
Well, I think like I hear the first question quite well and not the second one. I think I know Pragyan Pantha since some time. So am I correct, Pragyan? You have been in some of the activities, right?
Yeah,
So had that helped you to get awareness of like the question that you have just asked? Are you getting motivated?
Yeah. Well, yes,
Yeah.
it
So
has helped. But basically what happens is when we teach, like we are organizing rocket camps in Kathmandu tomorrow. So like that, if we make people very familiar with rockets and payload, will it be good for the one who are thinking of pursuing the career? I'm saying the question, but it helped me as personal experience.
So like, since it has helped you, a high school graduate, you know, do you think like the thing that you are passing on to the younger generation will be helping them or not? Because that is the power of outreach, you know. So time and often, like what people used to get confused about, like even we are asked question in some of the biggest events, like what you are doing in Nepal rather than doing outreach. But it is the power of outreach that people are getting aware of the things, of the subjects, and younger students like you are being created, who in turn is taking, like you learn something from NASO and its activities and you're taking it back to the society. And that is what we are looking for, because like this is the power of networking, and we can see the community, you know, getting like growing a bigger one than before, you know. Before, like we were just two people. Now every students like who are in touch with us, you know, or any other organization who are doing this like similar sort of events, are actually doing the same thing in turn. And like that is the success story. And like believe me, trust me, that like you will also get more motivated to do like to make other students aware of any topics that you want to, with the activities that like you will be conducting for them. Thanks, Pragya.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your answer, and I'm very grateful for the work that you are doing as a NASO chairperson, I guess.
You are also a part of NASO. I'm not a chairperson, and I actually like don't go for the position, because like I have been into the same position, project coordinator, since 2013 till date. And people are questioning me like why you are in the same position. And it is only the reason that I want to work in this field, like bring more awareness that I'm with the organization, and post doesn't matter to me, you know. So it's okay. You can just call me like Manisha ma'am or anything that you want to say. And the post doesn't matter to me at all. And you are also a part of NASO. I think you should remember that. Think about that.
Well, thank you all for your wonderful questions, and especially to our esteemed speakers for being here. We want to thank everyone for coming. We have Jagriti and Nishal from SEDS-Nepal and Zenith Fellowship and SEDS-Canada. We worked as a global collaboration to put this on. It's so exciting to see it happen and to see such a variety of people here.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Vanessa, but can I just say something?
Mhm.
Since we are celebrating, I being the national point of contact for World Space Week for Nepal, we will be celebrating the event. So anyone who are interested in space, you can do any programs that you like, and you can just register it, you know. And like we also have space competition as well as art competition for the student from class 6 to class 12. So if you think you are eligible, you can apply for that. Besides, you can also like share it to those who are eligible to apply for these programs. And the next thing is, it is particularly for women in science. We try to make it like women in the award for, like we wanted to give like a start award for women in space, but since the number is very few in Nepal, we started it like women in science award. So Nepalese citizen, like we have the award in 2 different categories, student and professional. So if you are eligible, please apply for that, and you can also share the program to other like who are in your reach, and like if you think like they should apply for this one. Thank you so much, and I'm sorry for taking the time.
If you could put the link in the chat for all of these opportunities, that would probably also be great, and we can share more later.
Thank you, guys.
And okay, so thank you, Vanessa, and this was a wonderful event. It went very smoothly, and we're very grateful that very grateful that we were able to, I guess, even implement in real life some of the points that were said by the speakers on the importance of collaboration. And through our poll, we saw that 50% of people are from Nepal, 50 are from Canada. So I think this is a great beginning step to do all the things that we talked about in this panel. And I would like to thank all of the speakers and Vanessa and all the people from SEDS-Nepal for working so hard over the past few months to make this event into a reality. And we're so grateful for all of you for taking the time out of your day and joining us today to hopefully benefit both the countries and our aerospace industry. So thank you, everybody, and hopefully our paths will cross again in the future.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, evening, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.